The cafeteria exploded with laughter, not the warm kind, not the kind that wraps around you and lifts your spirits. No, this laughter was sharp and ugly, the kind that slices through confidence like a knife. It rang off the cold tile walls as Alina stood frozen, her arms trying to cover the ripped fabric of her brand new top, the one she'd saved up for weeks to buy. Her cheeks flushed hot, but not with embarrassment, with rage. This wasn't the first time they had humiliated her, but today was different. It all started that Monday morning when Alina walked into Jefferson High with a rare spring in her step. She had finally managed to save enough money from tutoring kids in her neighborhood to buy the top she had seen in the store window for over a month, deep blue with a silver feather design across the chest. She had pictured herself wearing it so many times, and now it was finally hers. She had hoped, just this once, that maybe people would see her. Not for what she wasn't. Not for her hand-me-down shoes or her always-late bus rides, but for who she was. Smart. Kind. Determined. But in Jefferson High, standing out came with a price. "Hey, look at that. Alina thinks she's a model now," sneered Trevor, the self-proclaimed king of the senior class. He and his gang of wannabes always roamed the hallways like they owned the place. They were loud, crude, and merciless, especially to anyone they thought didn't belong. Alina tried to brush it off. She smiled faintly and turned toward her locker. But that wasn't good enough for them. By lunch, Trevor had rallied his usual crew, Kyle, with his smug face, and Brianna, who used to be Alina's friend back in 3rd grade before popularity infected her like a virus. They cornered Alina just as she was walking past their table in the cafeteria. "Oops," Trevor said with mock concern, tugging at the hem of her shirt. "Is this delicate thing even real? Or did you print it at home?" Before she could react, there was a loud rip. Gasps followed. Then came the laughter. And Alina stood there, heart pounding, blinking back the tears as her treasured top, the one she'd bought with her own hard work, hung in shreds. But here's where the story turns. Alina didn't cry. Not then. Not there. She slowly raised her head. Her eyes locked with Trevor's smug, arrogant smirk. The room quieted as people noticed the shift in her expression. Something inside her had snapped, but not in defeat. It was the crack of a dam finally giving way to the flood behind it. She took a step forward. Trevor laughed again. "Oh, now she's gonna cry on us." Wrong. She dropped her backpack to the floor with a heavy thud. The sound echoed. Then, without warning, she leapt forward, fast, fluid, and fierce. Years of practicing martial arts at the local community center kicked in like second nature. Trevor never saw it coming. Her elbow connected squarely with his chest, and the giant cafeteria went silent. He stumbled back, tripped over his own chair, and landed flat on his back. The sound of the crash was followed by a gasp from nearly everyone in the room. A moment later, clapping. 1. Then 2. Then more. Alina didn't wait for cheers or apologies. She walked straight to the principal's office and turned herself in. "I want to report an assault," she said calmly. "But not mine." What followed was chaos. Students finally spoke up. Videos from phones surfaced. It turned out Alina wasn't the only one Trevor had hurt, just the only one who stood up to him in a way no one could ignore. The principal suspended Trevor and his crew for bullying and instigating violence. For once, rules worked in favor of the right person. The cafeteria, once ruled by fear and cruelty, suddenly felt a little safer. But the fight wasn't over. Even after the incident, Alina had to deal with whispers, judgment from some teachers, and the cold glares from Trevor's friends. She was called violent, crazy, aggressive. But others saw her as brave. Younger students began coming to her for advice. Parents started asking about her tutoring. Local reporters picked up the story. She didn't become a celebrity, she became something more powerful. A leader. She used that momentum to start a peer-led anti-bullying initiative at school. It wasn't perfect. Not everyone changed. But many did. And more importantly, students who once felt invisible started finding their voice. Alina never bought another expensive top again. Not because she was scared, but because she didn't need clothing to feel worthy anymore. She'd found her strength not in fabric, but in her courage, And that flying elbow. It wasn't just a move. It was a moment, the moment one girl's refusal to be broken lit a fire under an entire school. The message she carried forward was simple. You don't have to break someone to feel powerful. But if someone tries to break you, stand up. Loud, proud, and if necessary, flying. Because some battles aren't won with silence. They're won with heart.